This is the Franchise QB Podcast, where we empower entrepreneurs to win big in franchising. We huddle up weekly to educate our audience about the most successful small business model ever created, franchising.
Welcome to the Franchise QB Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Halpern, a 20-year industry veteran and entrepreneur. My mission is for listeners to achieve their American dreams of creating wealth and independence through franchise ownership. Every week, we speak with franchisees, franchisors, or vendors that support the industry. Thank you for joining us, and let's get started. Joining us in the huddle today is Cliff Kennedy, CEO of Frios Gourmet Pops. Welcome to the show, Cliff.
Thanks, Mike, for having me. I'm excited about this, pal.
Yeah, that's awesome. So Frios Gourmet Pops, it's a mobile, low-cost, highly flexible franchise company that sells hand-poured gourmet pops out of tie-dye wrap vans called Sweet Rides. I love that. Frios is spreading happiness across the country, one pop at a time, and has grown to become the largest popsicle franchisor with over 100 franchises. So before we get into Frios, tell us the Cliff Kennedy story. I know you worked for your family business for a while, and then you took that entrepreneurial leap back in 2018. So tell us a little bit about your background, Cliff.
Yeah, so I was in the family business that my grandfather started with an 8th grade education out of the trunk of his car, just because he needed safety equipment. He was in that industry, and so he's like, I went and bought some up, and then he started selling to the company he worked for, and then he created this family business. And then I remember sweeping the warehouses when I was, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, making a couple dollars. Thought I was rich at that point. Little did I know it was just child labor laws should have been called on my grandfather, but it was all good. So cut my teeth there. Then went straight into the business out of college. Actually withdrew from business school because Katrina hit. And I remember getting in a car. My dad walked out and he's like, "Hey, I need you to work tomorrow." I was like, "Well, I gotta go to school." He's like, "No, I need you to work tomorrow." And I was the assistant to the dean, and I called him up. He's like, "You will get more education working for your parents. You can always come back to school," and then never looked back. And so
you're the third generation in that family business?
Yeah, and I have 3 older brothers that are in the business. So my mom now runs the business with my dad and everything.
Okay, very cool.
So
I know I mentioned this to you before we kind of went live here, but I heard the blue raspberry story. Obviously, you're in the gourmet pop business. I want to hear kind of how that flavor came to be. Tell us how that all happened.
Yeah, so, I'm lucky to be in a business where we're always trying to innovate and create. And it doesn't really, you never know where it's going to come from. But I remember many years ago, I was sitting in my office and my wife brought the kids by one day. And my son, he's probably around 6, 7 at that point, maybe 8. And he just looked at me and said, "Dad, I want to play in a game of rock, paper, scissors." I was like, "Okay," just playing around. He said, "All right, but if I beat you, you got to make a new flavor for me." I was like, "Okay," just thinking nothing of it. And then we're very competitive in my family, very competitive. And he beat me. And he immediately looked over to the guy that runs the manufacturing facility for us. And he's like, "Go make blue raspberry." We're like,
he knew what he wanted.
Well, he knew what he wanted. Exactly. It's something weird. Like everyone just wants a blue pop. And so, after a bunch of trials, I'll never forget. I just took all those samples to the house, and my kids, they just like lit up their eyes like, "This is so amazing." And thank goodness I lost that. I hate losing.
That was a good loss. Sometimes you lose, that's a good one.
In the entrepreneurship and everything, you're like, "Oh, how do you turn your, loss into wins, or lemons into lemonade," and all this kind of stuff. It's like, that was it. Like, that's one of those stories, like, thank you. And then another one that not many people know, and I haven't really shared with a lot of people, but then all of a sudden, you usually bring cupcakes or something to your class. My kids always bring Frios Pops. And he's like, "Dad, I want fruit punch." "Well, I don't have a fruit punch pop." So guess what we did? We went in there. We made that one in like a day or two. And now that's a huge seller for us. So my son's responsible for 2 top 10 flavors for us. And he's been asking where his royalties are on those.
I was going to say, he better be on that payroll. So I kind of jumped ahead. I was just real curious about that story. But you told me that Dad kind of plucked you out of school and said, "Hey, we got to get to work." So what happened from there? Because obviously you then made the leap into owning your own business and then subsequently turning it into a franchise. So how long did you work for the family business, and how did that come to an end so you could kind of start your own thing?
Yeah, I mean, I can say I worked in the family business since I was 7 years old. But I worked in the family business. I was sales director there, selling to refineries and chemical plants all over the
Okay.
country, and oil rigs and stuff. And just one of those things, like, it's in your blood. And I knew something in me is like, I got to control my own destiny. Love my parents, talk to them every single day. Love that business, but I just need to do it myself. And so I just got stuck in traffic, and I saw all these people excited and happy at a Frio stand, and I'll never forget, it was the key lime pie pop. And it just changed my life. I was like, wow, this is an amazing product. And I kept going back and trying more and trying more. And then went to the most risk-averse person I've ever met in my life, which is my father-in-law. And I was like, this is something here. And so, yeah, that's when I became a franchisee, May 1st of 2018. Bought 3 territories. And then 8 months later, bought the entire company.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that question next. It's very rare that a franchisee becomes the franchisor, and it seems like it was a pretty quick period of time. So you get in there, and within less than a year, you're now the franchisor. So how did that happen? And tell us a little bit about where Frios was when you made an investment. Were you the first franchisee? Were you the 10th franchisee? What did the company look like at that point?
Yeah, when I became a franchisee, I've been in a family business. I knew business, but I didn't know how to run necessarily a business completely. That was still insulated by my parents doing all those decisions. And so I was like, great, here's franchising. There's going to be tons of support. I'll be able to talk to all these other franchisees. There's like 8 of us at the time. That was 5 years ago. And I was like, okay, got on the first conference call. They were like, hey, here's the new flavor. Buy a lot of pops. Good luck. See you later. And it was like, there was no sales strategies. There was no support. There was nothing. And I was like, man, okay. And I was like, how do I get in touch with other franchisees? I don't have their numbers. I don't have anything. You're on an island by yourself. I was like, great product, terribly run. Like, that to me presents opportunity. And so from there, I was like, okay, all right. So probably from May to August is when I first made the call to the owner. And he didn't take my call that day. And I said, hey, to the person I said, hey, he wants to call me back. He needs to call me back for this call. And so the next day he called me, and I said, hey, I want to buy the company. He said, huh? What? I was like, yeah, I want to buy the company. And I said, I'll call you back tomorrow. He called me back. We started negotiating, and then I took over December 21st of 2018.
Okay. Was it actually based out of Mobile at the time, or was it from somewhere else?
No, it was in Gadsden, Alabama, where it was founded. So that's when it got really crazy. That's when I had to put on, like, okay, got to figure it out. So when I bought the company, I had to figure out I had to find a building. I had to move a manufacturing facility because we're vertically integrated. We make our own pops. So I had to build out a facility. Then the craziest thing, unbelievable team. Can't claim any of this. There's a guy that used to work with me, Jeff, amazing individual. We literally shut down production in Gadsden on a Thursday. We had tractor trailers up there and everything. He had a team of people. They put everything into a tractor trailer, drove it 400 miles south. We worked throughout the weekend setting up our new manufacturing facility, and we only missed 1 hour of production time that following Monday because the FDA guy that had to sign got stuck in traffic coming from Montgomery, and then boom, off the races. Never looked back.
That sounds like a really stressful event, but I'm glad it worked out. It sounds like, all things considered, it probably couldn't have gone better.
It could not have gone any better. It was unbelievable. I mean, we were working our tails off throughout the weekend, late into the night, getting everything set up.
Man, that's really cool. So now you have this franchise company, you inherit some franchisees, and I know there was probably a gap between that moment when you're now a franchisor and when you got everything buttoned up when it was time to scale. So I know that you had decided, obviously, you inherited franchising, but then made a conscious decision to continue down that path. But you brought in a franchising expert, Patty Rother, to support the infrastructure. So how did the two of you meet, and how did her involvement help you transform the business from what it was as kind of a budding franchise system to what it's kind of flourished into today?
Yeah, so it goes even before that. The transition of our company and the real impetus of where we were when I bought it. So when I bought it, and I'll go back to that saying we were brick and mortar. People were building out 3,000 square foot facilities and everything. And when COVID hit, I always say I hate what COVID did to the country and the world and individuals. But COVID was the best thing that ever happened to this company. That was that time to realize that we started seeing people put carts in the back of trailers and going to neighborhoods. We actually had a franchisee get a van at that time. We're like, wow, we can go to the people. That's where they are. It's
just getting scrappy and figuring out a way to bring the
you
pops
got to figure it out. But it's like, and then all of a sudden we're sitting in the office one day. I was like, that's it. Like, look at Kona Ice. They're going to the people. They're mobile. They got, at that point, they had 1,000 locations. Now they're at 1,600. It's like, we got to go to the people. We got to mobilize. We quickly rewrote our FDD in probably about 60 days. And we immediately started selling mobile franchises. And we were like, hey, this is the time. Break your leases. Here's the future. And like really started building up right there during COVID. And so that was the transformation of our entire company, was us making that shift of, you can't get 500 people from a corporate office to come to your brick and mortar Frios, but you can get in your sweet ride and go to them. So I'll say that is the biggest change ever for this company and what has set us up for the success and where we are today.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big improvement in kind of the risk reward scenario for an owner. It opens up the doors for a lot more investors. Plus, when you're beholden to a landlord in a space, you're geographically tied. I mean, there's some models that flourish, obviously, in a brick and mortar environment, but I can see with your kind of special gourmet pops and how it's so event driven and there's so many things happening that's outside of your brick and mortar. That's got to be like an amazing game changer for the business. So, so tell me a little bit about the supply chain. You guys make the product; they're hand poured. You make them in your facility. How do they get to the franchisees? How long do they last? What's kind of the basics on kind of the supply chain there with the actual pops?
Yeah, so we're vertically integrated. So I manufacture all the pops. So the blueberry cheesecake that you try in Philadelphia is going to be the same pop that you have in Tampa or Mobile or wherever. It's all going to be the same because we manufacture and distribute it out through dry ice to all of our franchisees across the country. So it's a labor of love, but it allows for the consistency. And the biggest thing and the benefit of us having that is our franchisees are able to operate a super simple system. So the one thing we always say is we're an ice cream truck. We are the modern day ice cream truck. We're not a food truck. So the regulations and the things they have to have or not have to have in their ice cream truck are a lot easier than a food truck. There's no 3-compartment sinks. There's no grease traps. There's not all these things. All that's in there is a freezer. That's it, a glass top freezer. So the simplicity of getting younger kids to help and getting families involved for them. So the distribution from us to them is just getting it to them frozen. They put it in their freezers, and then they're off to the races.
Yeah, I love the simplicity of the model. So you mentioned that. So simplicity is a big piece of this, but what else, in your view, makes Frios a great franchise opportunity? We talked the low investment, we talked simplicity. What other kind of attributes does the model have that would be attractive to an owner?
Yeah, and I will say that we're probably the simplest business to run, but that doesn't mean it doesn't require hard work. That I don't care if you're opening up a Starbucks and people are beating down your door at 5:00 in the morning for a coffee. It still requires that franchisee, or they're not franchise, but that owner to have hard work involved. So I will say that. But the attributes for us is, you look at franchising. A lot of people have that specific avatar that they're looking for. It's like, oh, you got to be this particular person. The beautiful thing about us is we have people that are just saying, hey, I don't want to fully retire and just sit here and do nothing. I just want to go and run a little small business that doesn't cost $500,000 to open up, and I got to be at a brick and mortar. I can go work 3, 4, 5 events a month, and that's fine for me. That's great. We have people that are buying multiple territories, 2, 3, 4, 5 territories. Like, this is their legacy that they want to leave for their kids. And so that's huge for us. We have a lot of different people and a lot of different age groups, if it's young, if it's old. We're looking for those people that are just driven, that want to be involved in their community. which is a big thing for us and the giving back. So that's really that attribute for us, is that we just kind of check all those boxes. You want to teach your kids the value of $1? You don't have to sit there and teach them how to make product or anything like that. You can teach them, hey, you buy it for X, you sell it for Y, and you hand it out the window. And there's a lot more hospitality and everything beyond it, but it's easy that we get a lot of parents that are saying, hey, I want to teach my kids, and we're going to get involved, and this can be a family business.
Yeah,
and this
I
is
got
just
you.
that business.
Very cool. So let's talk about revenue streams. So how does a Frios franchise owner actually generate revenue? You talked about the sweet ride. What are kind of some other tentacles that the kind of model has that generate revenue for owners?
Great. I mean, that's another differentiator, is that you don't have to be in the sweet ride for your revenue. One of the beautiful things is you can have multiple carts and be in multiple locations where you can set up a cart at an event and they can self-serve. You can have 5. We have some people have 5 to 10 carts in their territory, so they can be in multiple places at one time when it's event driven. And the other key benefit that we have over others is that you can wholesale. So think of country clubs, resorts, ball fields, concession stands, schools. They can actually sell your product, and you sell it to them at a wholesale rate, and then they sell it. And so then it's kind of a set it and forget it thing. Hey, I'm going to drop off your pops, and they're going to sell it for you. So that's a huge revenue stream that we have that, not a lot of others have.
Yeah, I like the fact that it's kind of B2C and B2B, because when you do your events and when you have the sweet ride and the Nelson carts and the porch pop drops, which I heard, which is really cool. But then with those wholesale accounts, you can build those relationships in the community and with those businesses and, the hotels and the rec centers and, anything. And those are long-term relationship builders. When you land those accounts, I can see how they're really lucrative and consistent and predictable. So I love that aspect of the business, especially from someone that comes from corporate America that's kind of used to interfacing with kind of C-level folks. I think that's pretty cool. And then you obviously have the appeal of just everybody in the neighborhood knowing that you're the family with the sweet ride, and that's got to be pretty cool. It's like lemonade stand on steroids,
And look, that's exactly. So my kids do that now. So they start with the lemonade stand, but it's amazing how quick they start selling Frios on the side of the street or something like that. So it's
don't make sure they walk off with the keys and take the sweet ride for their own sweet ride.
And I've quickly become the most popular house on the street for some reason, that they always go to the freezer and they get some Frios Pops. So they quickly eat into the profits when all the friends come over.
Yeah, so I guess the idea is that when the franchise owner joins the system and before the van even arrives, it's getting fit out. They're building relationships in the community so that when the product starts to arrive, you can start making a name for yourself in town even before the sweet ride is delivered to the franchise owner. Is that the idea?
I mean, the day our franchisees sign up, they can get pops that in the next couple of days and immediately start wholesaling or passing them out, whatever they want to. They're open immediately. We've had franchises before they even get their first cooler or freezer, anything like that. They'll get them on dry ice and they'll just sell them out of a box and say, hey, here's some dry ice. We're going to go to an event, because they're just ready to get going, and they can do that. They don't have to wait for that sweet ride.
So you touched on this a little bit before, but tell us a little bit about the van design. I know it's awesome on the outside. It's that tie-dye, it pops, like when that van's coming by. So tell me a little bit more about the inside. You have refrigeration, you have space to move around in, and that's pretty much it. Tell me, is there anything else that's, that goes in there?
We got some LED lights and air conditioning. That's it. But it is
so keep it simple, make it noticeable, and let the owner focus on the customer.
Yeah, so that's exactly what we did. You can't get any more simple. I actually did a YouTube video about this and hey, here's our training and our tutorial, how to set up for an event. How do you prep for it? Okay, you pull up. Here's the serving window. You open the serving window. That's it. That's all you got to do. You're done. There's no waiting for anything to warm up. There's no machines you got to turn on. You're ready to go. That's your awesome setup.
Yeah, and you touched on this before too, but a lot of food trucks out there that have grills, fryers, hoods, raw materials. That's going to be really hard to get licensing and pass regulations and obtain permits. And I know that differs state to state and county to county, but since the pops are pre-packaged, there's no cooking on the van, there's no handling of raw ingredients. I'm assuming it's pretty easy for Frios owners to comply with their local regulations.
Yeah, I mean, it's much easier than a food truck. I will say that. Now, there's always a municipality that just doesn't like food trucks in general, and you kind of get
Yeah.
lumped into that at times. But by and far, it's much easier. Much
Very
easier. I
cool.
mean, it's literally
So,
when you open
tell
the
us a little
door.
bit more about the ideal candidate to become an owner. I like how you call them happiness hustlers. I love how happiness is the common theme throughout the whole thing. Because if you're going to do a business, yes, you want to make money, but the idea of having fun while doing that is pretty appealing to a lot of people, especially people that are super stressed out in whatever they're doing and they want to change. So, why change it to something that's going to stress you out even further? But you mentioned all walks of life, your franchise owners. But what are the key like characteristics of someone coming in? Like you want them to be outgoing, you want them to be like a mayor of the town type.
Yeah, exactly. You want that person to be involved in their community. You want them really active. You want those extroverts that are going to have that sales. I mean, we're a sales business, is what it is. Every business is sales, but you've got to be able to pick up the call, pick up the phone, make that call, land those events. So that's what you're really looking for. But if you're not that person, you need to have somebody on your team that is that person. So that's what we really look for. And just that community give back. Are they being involved in the events? Are they involved and getting out and part of the fabric of their community? That's really what we look for. Now, is that a 25-year-old? Absolutely. Is it a 65-year-old? Absolutely. We have all spectrums of people that fit that. So that's really what we look for.
Cool, kind of an opportunity for everyone.
Mhm.
So how big are these territories? So it's a mobile business, so there's going to be events taking place all over the county or the town. How do you kind of structure those territories for owners?
Yeah, so we got an amazing mapping system that's color coded and graphed and everything else, and it's 150,000 people is what our territory is. And so we sit there, we've got it drawn up, and then we're able to pull out all the parks and churches and community centers and schools, and we download that list and give them immediately 100 people to reach out to just from our mapping service. So yeah, it's just 150,000 people, zip code based.
That's awesome. So I heard that you called Frios a no-look pass opportunity, which is a perfect match for the name of our podcast, which is Franchise QB. So tell us why this is a no-look pass opportunity.
It's just where you just kind of have that opportunity where it's just like, you're just set up for success day one because and I'll go back to this here, and here's what we're kind of looking for is like when somebody is selling me on why and how they can be successful with this business, that's where it is. Like I'm not really having to train them up with a lot of different mentality. It's that you already know what, because it resonates back as your childhood. It's like, oh, I can go to my kid's school. I can go here. I can go there. Like that's what it is. Like you're already ahead of the game when you even come to training. We're just giving you the tips and tricks on how to perfect that and what's
Mhm.
worked and not worked. So it's like, you know how to do it. We're just going to hand it off to you. No, look, pass it over there to you, and you're off to the races.
Love it. Yeah, I can see that when candidates are like serious about this, they're thinking in their mind, like just like looking all over town is, where is this product going to be a hit? And they're coming to you saying, hey, here, here, and here. And you're like, yeah. And then this is how we execute. So that's cool. So how many happiness hustlers or franchise owners do you have currently? How many are open? How many are onboarding? What's that look like today?
Yeah, so we have 62 franchisees. Many of them are multi-unit owners, now over the 100 mark. So we're happy about that. And so,
Congratulations.
thank you. It's been a labor of love. And so, yeah, if we were to look at that, I mean, I think I think we're right about 60 to 70% women owned too.
Okay. And I saw on socials you had an opening recently in Pittsburgh. So clearly, this is something that works in cold weather markets. So, how does that owner adapt during those couple of months that are cold? I'm sure that you've tackled that issue with candidates that have come to you, especially people that have already moved forward, like in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, there's definitely a seasonality to it. Your sales are not as big as they are during the peak season. But what do? They
Sure.
go indoors. They go into wrestling events. They go into recitals. We've got a franchisee that posts all the time. He goes inside the basketball at Wake Forest, does an amazing job there, and that's what keeps him going through the wintertime. And it's a good break for people as well. I mean, I tell
Yeah,
people all
no,
the
I
time,
can see that.
do you stop putting ice in your drinks during the wintertime? Do you stop eating ice cream? No, you just go indoors. That's what you got to do. Change
Yeah.
it up.
Yeah, my older son is a high school wrestler. Their season just ended, and they got second in the state, which was a real exciting time for the team. And they always had these big events, and there's always, food and desserts and, everything in there. So I can see that, if you get in with the right group, there's opportunities there. So how much does it cost for a, happiness hustler to get in the game?
We tell them they can get in for less, but we say you really, because you want some runway, so you need to have at least $75,000 ready to go.
Okay.
That's getting your territory fees, that's getting your down payments of your suite rides, getting you some carts, and that's getting you some cash runway there. So we really look for them to have around $75,000 in liquidity.
And what's the opening package?
But you want some
one
runway.
suite ride and 2 Nelson carts, or is it really up to the owner to kind of look at how much territory they purchased and how big they want to make this business? I can see you scale up by just keep coming back and adding on vehicles and adding on carts. But what's the recommended launch if someone's doing like 2 or 3 territories?
Yeah, so we only make them have a van as a requirement for every other territory. So they don't have to have that huge capital investment if they buy 2 territories and spend another $100,000 for a van, because the flexibility of having that van go into multiple locations inside that 300,000 person territory, but the flexibility also of the carts. For $5,000, they can get a Nelson cart or several Nelson carts and put those in events. And those hold anywhere from 800 to 1,000 pops as well. So that's what we love. They can really scale, but not have to scale so much and spending hundreds of thousands of dollars in added equipment. We're working to try to bring on some more assets for them that's not so high cost as the van. And then some of them like, I just want 2 vans. I want 3 vans. That's what they're looking to build out to.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, it is a relatively low cost when you think 75 grand relative to what's out there in the franchising landscape, it's definitely on the lower side. So can you share any Item 19 franchise performance representations with us at this point?
Not at this point. We don't have an Item 19. We're trying to finalize it for our newest FDD. We think we're going to have one out there, but as of right now, we don't. We're just a high cash business. And everyone says, look, if you want to validate us and ask, call our franchisees. They're going to tell you what they're doing. And it speaks for themselves that, we just had a franchisee in Madison, Wisconsin, in the dead of winter, bought her second territory. Dead of winter, bought her second. Like, that's validation. That's telling you, like, hey, something's in the water. With more and more of our franchisees buying up other territories, that's where the true validation comes from. And I go back to look at Kona Ice, 1,600 locations across the country. They've never had an Item 19. We depend on our validation from our franchisees.
Yeah, early on in my career, I worked with a franchise sales organization that had the Five Guys Burgers account, and the first couple hundred locations that were granted to franchise owners was all done without an Item 19. So if you have a great leadership team and you have a great product and you have a great system, the Item 19 certainly is helpful, but it's not necessary. And it sounds like we're approaching FDD renewal seasons here in a month or 2 anyway, so hopefully that will be just another advantage if you choose to add that in the mix.
And look, we could have another whole podcast on Item 19 and what that means and what I've seen out there and what people represent and don't represent. So
yep, totally agree with you.
That's a whole other can of worms.
It can be misleading. It can be informative. I always tell candidates use it as one data point, but not the only data point. So if they take that into consideration and they look in the context of the industry and talk to other owners, they should put together a picture that will hopefully let them know how they can perform if they're kind of like the owners that they're engaging with. So
exactly.
Well, anything else? You've shared a lot of great information with us. Anything else you want to add to the mix before we part ways?
That's it. I mean, look, I try to tell people I can't overcomplicate this. I mean, we sell happiness on a stick. That's all we do. And if I try to overcomplicate it, I'll screw things up. So it's just that simple system that just allows people to, no matter what, no matter how bad your day is that day, if you're getting that sweet ride, you're going to put smiles on people's faces. It doesn't matter if it's kids. And I will say the one thing, Mike, that what's always fun about this job, and it's how I found our franchise sales director, Allison Groom. Her and her family were walking by. I was at a trade show, and I said, "Hey, y'all want to try a pop or anything like that?" She said, No, we're not here for that. And I gave it to her son, Griffin. And it happens every time. They're walking away, and you see it. Like, she grabs his hand, she bites it, and she looks back, and then she's like, "Tell me about this." And then by the time I got to the airport that afternoon, she's like, "We're in." And now she went from franchisee, sold her franchise, and now she's our franchise sales director.
No, I'm really glad you shared that story with us. That is really awesome. So, well, thanks so much for, I'm excited. I mean, it sounds like a really fun company, really fun business, and I can't wait to see where it goes, Cliff. So if anyone listening would like to connect with Cliff and his team to discuss Frios Gourmet Pops, contact me at franchiseqb.com or on Twitter at QBFranchiseQB, and I'll get you connected with Cliff. Cliff, thanks so much for getting in the huddle and discuss Frios with us.
Thanks, pal. Talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you for listening to the Franchise QB podcast, where you're at the helm of your future as a franchise owner. If you enjoyed the content, please rate the show and recommend it to anyone that might be interested in franchising. Make sure to visit franchiseqb.com to subscribe to my newsletter and for an actionable playbook to go from walk-on to legend in your new business. Follow us on Twitter at QBFranchiseQB and join us every week for a new episode. See you next time.
Visit franchiseqb.com to take the next step of your journey towards wealth, independence, and franchise ownership. And remember, when working for the man gets old, you must do something bold. Thank you for listening.